Hello, everybody, and welcome to Riftbound Ramblings. I'm your host, Barrett, and today we begin the climb on catching up on all of the spoilers and reveals that Riot Games gave us at the beginning of the week on June 9th. Today is June 11th, so I thought I would start and kick things off as we dig into the Fury domain. So if you like the color red, you're gonna like this video. Now, I did also already go over the legends and the champion legends or champion units that have already been revealed to us in previous videos, so I'm not going to be going over any cards that I've already talked about. But to kick it off, look at this Fury rune. Look at the alternate one. This number 7A at the bottom of it. It looks so good. I hope they come foil. I'm really excited to do that. But without further ado, let's get started. Starting off, we've got the Blazing Scorcher, which is a 5 energy, 5 might Noxus Dragon unit, and it has Accelerate, which allows you to pay an energy and then also recycle a Fury rune as additional cost, and you can have it enter ready, essentially giving it haste so you can swing with it right away. Um, there's not a lot to be said. Obviously, these are commons, uncommons. And a lot of these cards are going to be ones that are also in the trial decks that if you haven't played a demo experience, I'm still going to go over all these cards. And overall, I kind of like this one. It's 5 energy. It doesn't require a recycle if you just want to have a 5 might guy. And because it's 5 might, it is considered mighty for characters like, like Volibear, for example. And spoiler alert, obviously, there is dragon support, like, within the set. So, like, this being a dragon does matter. And I think for that reason, it has a lot of potential. So I went ahead and gave it a diamond rating, which, like, for a comment, I don't think I'm going to give everything a diamond rating, of course. But I kind of like this one, even without you paying the accelerate cost, which in my book means that it's probably good enough, at least in a set 1 format that we're going to be going into. But moving on, we've got the Brazen Buccaneer, which is a 6 energy, 5 might unit, Bilgewater Pirate. As you play me, you may discard a card as an additional cost, and if you do, reduce my cost by 2. So initially when you see this, I wouldn't give it the same rating as the dragon we just saw, because this one costs 5 and it's for the same amount of might. But the reality is that if you discard a card, this is a 4-drop, which feels a lot better, especially in characters like Jinx. So when you're already playing a character that gives you these benefits of being a unit that synergizes with discarding, for a 4-drop 5 might guy, if you go second, you can play this on turn 2. And I think that's pretty relevant. So I did also give this one a diamond scoring, but it's only because of the immediate synergy that it has with Jinx. So this one to me is good enough probably to put in your deck, but if they give us way better cards for discarding synergies, I think this one just, makes cut out of decks basically. But moving on, we have the Kim Tech Enforcer, which is a 2 energy, 2 might Zon unit with Assault 2, and it says when you play me, discard a card. So everything I just said about having synergy with Jinx, I'm kind of on the other side of the fence with this card. Can you play this one on turn 1 if you go second? Yes. Is it only for 2 might? Yes. But when you're attacking, it's 4, so that's fine. But when you play it, you immediately have to discard 1. I think that's too early in the game for you to want to do this on curve. And then at that point, I just think there are better things to be playing. So I do think this one is good enough maybe for your Jinx deck, but I have a feeling that these are not going to make the final cuts unless that deck ends up being crazy more aggressive than I think it does. And it needs a bunch of discard outs to trigger the Mega Death Rackets in your discard pile to bring them back. Then I don't think it's going to be good enough. Moving on, we have the Disintegrate, which is a 4 energy spell, and it's playable as an action, so on your turn or in showdowns, and it's deal 3 to a unit at a battlefield. If it kills it, draw 1. The reality is we haven't seen a ton of ways of drawing cards, If you've played the demo experience, there's not a lot of ways of drawing cards. So I gave this a challenger rating. And this is a big but, if there becomes better ways to draw, a 4 mana kill spell that only deals 3, I don't think is good enough. But there are characters like Victor or, leaders like Teemo that are going to be playing like weaker units. Like even characters like Jinx are going to be, or Legends are going to play weaker might units on their turn. So as a Fury domain card, I just also think it's good against Fury units because typically they have Assault on them. I do think this one currently is good enough to see play because it draws. Removal that draws, I think, is going to be good enough. Moving on, we also have the Flame Chompers, which is a 3 energy, 3 might Zon unit. And it says, when you discard me, you may recycle a Fury rune to play me. So for the Jinx decks, this is really good because it's a double play essentially when you synergize it with the champion unit Jinx, or also when you synergize it with other cards like the Buccaneer that we already saw. So I think this one is good enough because of the extra tempo it can give you. I gave it a diamond rating because I also think within the Jinx deck there's just not a lot of there's just not a lot of power costs. So this is fine if this is what you're going to spend on your power costs. So I did give it a diamond rating. I think it's probably good enough to see play. Moving on, we have a Get Excited. Speaking of power costs, this is a 2 energy, 1 power spell. Action, play it on your turn or in showdowns. Discard 1, period. Deal its energy cost as damage to a unit at a battlefield, ignoring its power cost. So if you discard the Chompers that we just saw, it deals 3 to something for 2 energy and a power cost. And then if you paid the power cost to get the Chompers out, you did double power. So that's not as good. But I did say that the Brazen Buccaneer probably is good enough to be in the Jinx deck. And if you're not needing to play any more units like Brazen Buccaneer, and this is something you want to do instead, a removal spell. So here's the way I see it, right? If I have Brazen Buccaneer and Get Excited in my hand, you all of a sudden have options. You can play the Brazen Buccaneer as a 4-drop by discarding the Get Excited, so that it's cheaper and it's got a 5-might guy. Or if removal is what you need, you have a 2 energy spell with 1 power cost to discard Brazen Buccaneers that are probably already in your deck to deal 6 damage to something, I think is good enough. So I did give it a diamond. And of course, if we ever have any more cards that synergize when they are themselves discarded, like the Chompers, this Get Excited goes up in value. Moving on, we have the Legion Rearguard. This is a 2 energy, 2 might Noxus Trifarian unit, and it has Accelerate. So this is comparable to the Blazing Scorcher, but I currently don't know of any Trifarian or Noxus reasons to play those traits, I should say. If you pay the Accelerate cost on turn 1 of the game going second, you have basically given up your edge on why you went second, and you gave it up for a 2 might unit that allows you to immediately take a battlefield. Is that going to be good enough? I think it could be. So I gave it a challenger rating. But I think I might be incredibly wrong about this card. I think the further and further we get away from set 1, this drops drastically. But I think if aggro decks are going to be the easiest, or like the beginning thing that people get into right when this game comes out, this card could be good enough. And if this is the card that you're playing as your accelerated unit that you're going to be putting on the board, then I think cards like Blazing Scorcher don't do it. But I think this one has some potential for how simple it is. Moving on, we've got the Magma Worm, which is an 8 energy, 1 power cost, 8 might Freljord unit, and it says other friendly units enter ready. Essentially, what this says is you no longer have to pay accelerate costs, and if it didn't have an accelerate cost, hey, by the way, it comes in with accelerate for free. This is one of the better payoffs I believe we're going to have for ramp decks that have the Fury domain in the ramp. So characters like Bear. And so for that, I think I didn't give it Challenger. I gave it right below it. I gave it the Grandmaster rating because I think this is going to be really good in set 1. And it may be better later as better ramp decks come out. But this could drop off. I think this could not become worth it anymore as more and more cards come out. But I think having a threat like this on your board that you can still, of course, attack with later, not on the turn you play it, but being able to play one of the, if you go second, you can play this on turn 4, if as long as you don't spend recycle any of your runes, of course. And I think playing this on turn 4 is something really scary for your opponent to deal with. That now says anything else you play is going to be a lot scarier because it can attack right away. So I gave it Greymaster. Moving on, we got the Noxus Hopeful. 4 energy, 4 might Noxus Trifarian unit with Legion, which means if you only get this effect if you've already played a card this turn. And if you have played a card, it's actually a 2 energy cost card. I think this is really good. And I'm not saying that this is really good because it has the potential to be a 2-drop for might person, but it's because I'm already sold on legends like Darius. And in Darius specifically, every Noxus Hopeful that you have in your hand, if you play only one a turn, it's actually a 1-drop because of the Noxus, or because of Darius's reaction, which is as long as you played one card to begin with, doesn't matter what it is, you respond, you react, you get another energy to spend on something. So it can be this Noxus Hopeful, which is a 2 energy card, which means you only need one more readied rune to play these, which help you get on the board. I think, because I already think Darius is going to be Challenger level as a legend, I do think Noxus Hopeful is going to be good as well, and that's not even just in Darius decks. Moving on, we have the Scrapyard, or Scrapyard, apologies for the E, Scrapyard Champion, which is a 5 energy, 1 power, 5 might Bandle City mech unit, and it has Legion as well. When you play me, discard 2 and draw 2. So hand fix, but it synergizes also in characters like Jinx, but it needs the Legion. I think Legion's going to be a little harder on the 5 cost unit than it is on the what becomes a 2 cost unit, but the hand fixing is good. So I did give it Diamond, and I fixed the name, because I think this is going to be good in Jinx decks, and I think it's probably just going to be good enough to play in other decks, because again, we just haven't seen a lot of draw. And when your decks are set number of cards, there's going to be cards that you think are going to be good in certain matchups, and some that aren't going to be. And these help you get rid of the cards you don't need anymore, and the cards to find the ones that you do want. Comes with a 5 might body. I think it's fine. And then moving on, we've got some champion units that we haven't gone over in the past videos because they don't have a legend associated with them yet. But so we've got the Fury Tryndamere, which is a 7 energy, 2 power, 8 might guy. He is a Tryndamere, and he's from Freljord, of course. And he says, when I conquer after an attack, if you assigned 5 or more excess damage to enemy units, you score 1 point. So this guy basically says, I have trample, not trample, that's a weird way to say it, but like in other games, if you carry over enough, if you attack somebody's battlefield that someone has control over, and they only had 3 might worth of things at base level, when you take that, you get 2. And if you've played the demo experience, or if you've played the the trial deck, the Volibear trial deck. This guy's really good at helping you come back from the early turns that you spent ramping. And because you ramped, you can get to the 7 a lot better, even with the 2 power that you have to recycle back. I do think this one is good. I think he's fine. And this kind of also gives us like maybe a sneak peek of what like the Trinimir Legend could be doing in the future, of like doing excess power and such like that. But I do think this guy's playable. I don't think he's like a max copies in your deck kind of guy, but I do think he is one of the better cards to be playing in the ramp decks like Volibear. And he feels good when you pull him off, and I'm sure he doesn't feel great when he doesn't work. Moving on, we also have the Fury Vi. Again, we don't have a legend for Vi, but we have a 2 energy, 1 power, 3 might Piltover Vi unit. And she has ganking, which is, I think, very powerful and very good. And she also says you can recycle 1 card from your trash, which means you put it back on the bottom of your deck, and you give her a might this turn. You can do this as many times as you want, as long as you can keep paying the cost. And in decks like Jinx, where you're discarding a bunch of cards, you have cards in your trash to recycle. So this isn't really a 2-drop. Oh, and also because it's an ability, so like it's only for the turn. I think this card's great. I think this card's fantastic. I think she is really good at getting to battlefields, and if you have any way of protecting her, she's really good at getting you more because of the ganking ability. She feels really good in the Jinx deck. I can't imagine she doesn't feel good in just any of the other decks, because any of those cards that hit your discard pile from just playing the game, she gets to take advantage of for a 2-drop unit for only 1 power use. I think she's incredibly good, so I gave her a challenger rating. Moving on, we've got Kadrigan the Infernal, a 9 energy, 2 power, 9 might Demacia Dragon unit. He says, when you play me, draw 1 for each of your mighty units. And a mighty unit is anyone that has 5 might. This, I think, could be the best thing to be ramping for the ramp decks. And it's a dragon. And we've seen dragon synergy that you can check out in other domains. I think this one has the potential to be very good. I'm not gonna pull the trigger on Challenger because again I'm so unsure on how powerful the ramp decks are going to be or how powerful the dragon synergies are going to be. But I think this one is going to be very good. It's obviously a higher rarity card as you can see, so I don't know where it's going to lie, but this could be better than the Magma Worm, and I have more confidence in this one than I do the Magma Worm. And then moving on, we have the Seal of Rage. Now, if you don't know, a lot of people are kind of talking about these cards, and I'll spoiler alert. I think this card's going to be good because of characters like Darius, because Darius will help you get the energy that you lose because you have to recycle 1 to play this, and this gives you the powers to pay later on in the game. So it's obviously going to be good in certain characters, but I think it's not going to be good in other characters like Kaisa. Kaisa already gives herself power when using for spells, not for her units, of course, but like I could make a whole video talking about these seals, to be honest, but I think the reality is, of course, I think it's a challenger level card. I think there just exists this real weird world that we might end up in where the aggro decks might be able to get away with playing the game without these seals, and if they're not recycling their cards or their runes back into their rune deck, you don't need the seals. And if they are doing it enough just to win the game because their curve is very good, then they don't need the seals. Meanwhile, if normal decks like Darius need the seals to play the game, you kind of lose your edge. Like if you go first and you play a seal, you are an entire turn behind your opponent, and you could have just maybe built your deck without playing a lot of power costs in them. and then the seal doesn't feel as good. But if you're playing deck like Kaisa, and you do have a ton of power costs, and you only get to use Kaisa for the spells, and you need things like the seal to pay for the units, it makes a lot of sense. But I think there's a world where, like, they're obviously going to be played, they're going to be good, but people could adapt to not using them depending on how they build their deck. I think they can drop off. I think people can adapt around them. But of course, I think it's going to be a good card. It's going to be challenger level. And then moving on, we have the last card for today, and I was able to sneak this one in because it was revealed today by David Smith, one of the senior game designs for Riftbound on his X account. And it's Cleave, which is just a 1 energy spell, played as an action on your turn or in a showdown, and it's give a unit Assault 3 this turn, so it gets 3 might while it's attacking. So very aggressive. Assault seems to be the theme for Fury Domain, whereas like Shield, which is like the opposite of Assault, obviously, it can be found on like other things, probably like on Order or Body. So uh, I don't know where this is going to end up, but I think the thing I like about this card is that it gives us the baseline of what we need to expect. For 1 mana, dealing 3 essentially, but on a body, so it requires some extra stuff, and it's only on your turn. This is the baseline now. And I think for a baseline, in the aggro domain like Fury, I think it might be good enough. Not quite challenger level. I think it's going to see some play, of course, in aggro decks. But as long as you can maintain cards in your hand, this will feel good. It can be enough for you to just get a battlefield, and that's how you win the game, of course. So I think this can be good. I think it's going to be good. Shout outs again to David Smith on his X account for showing us this card today. And I think this one's going to be fine. I think it's going to be fine for aggro decks, and, you know, maybe not so much for the defensive ones. But that's going to sum up. We finally caught up on all the cards in the Fury domain due to this video. Feel free to check out the rest of the videos I'll be posting, as well as we get into more Riftbound Set 1 Origins reveals and spoilers. Thank you so much for watching this one, and we will see you all in the next one.